What is up, everyone? I hope you're doing fantastically well today. This is Raphael Garcia here for episode number 95 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. It is Friday, August 20th, and I want to thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to the show. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe everywhere you can when it comes to MMA ratings. You can check us out over on our flagship MMA Ratings Net at MMAratings.com. You can check us out on Instagram and Twitter at MMA Ratings Net in both spaces. You can find this podcast and the MMA Ratings podcast from usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays, over on YouTube at MMA Ratings, and also across all of your favorite podcasting networks: Google Podcasts, Breaker, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, and Spotify as well. Me, you can hit me up at rgarcia_sports on both Instagram and Twitter. But let's go ahead and jump right into it, because we have a big show to really kind of talk about with, of course, CM Punk's return and his place in AEW. So if you've been living under a rock for the last month or so, it's been pretty clear that one CM Punk was finally set to make his return to professional wrestling after 7 years of being away. I think it's 2,766 days, I believe, to be exact. Well, as soon as AEW Rampage kicked off tonight, Cult of Personality hit, and Punk walked out. And it was, even though this was a moment that was pretty much well known that it was occurring, as I mentioned, Sean Ross Sapp reported about it back about a month ago. And then AEW booked the United Center for this show, named it First Dance or Homecoming, whatever the hell they called it. And it delivered. CM Punk walked out, and the crowd went absolutely bananas, as you would expect. And he then took it all in, took his time to get down to the ring. He was very emotional. He did basically a stage dive into the crowd at one point. It was pandemonium. It was madness. I talked to a couple people who were there, and they said it was the most amazing wrestling moment that they've ever seen live. And yeah, I can't really even imagine what that was like. But CM Punk is back, and he is back from what it sounds like, because he cut a promo about his return saying that he has time, and by that time he meant he will be around for Dynamite and Rampage. It was announced that he's going to be at Dynamite this week in Milwaukee, and he is set for his first pay-per-view match against Darby Allin on September 5th at AEW All Out. Now, I, for one, have been keeping a close eye on COVID-19 numbers as All Out gets closer. As you know, I've said it many times on the show, I have bought tickets to All Out, and I was looking like, should I still go, looking at how these numbers are getting? And I knew this was going to be a big moment with Punk's return, but this was bigger than I even realized, or I even could have thought it could have been. And now there's no way I will not be in Chicago on September 5th. I already have everything ready to go. This is a moment that you have to see flat out. And Punk really said a lot of great things during his promo about the young guys that he wanted to work with, which brought him over to that match with Allen. And he talked there's some scores to settle back there in the back. Okay, I don't really care about that. But this AEW roster has a lot of people that we should be excited to see him work with. Darby Allin, Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Pac, Rusev, or what's his name, Miro. So many different names that fans should be excited to see him work with. And that's the excitement that AEW has brought to professional wrestling that's been missing for so long. He took a little bit of a shot at WWE when he was talking about his love for the business. He said that he feels like he left professional wrestling the day he left Ring of Honor, which was also in August of 2005. and now he's back in August of 2021. So his time spent in WWE almost doesn't even count in professional wrestling to him. He looked good. He looked a little older. He looked. CM Punk has never looked like a big burly professional wrestler, so he looks the same. A little bit older, a little bit wiser. I am interested in seeing what his years in training MMA has done for his wrestling style. From what I've read, everybody said that he's looked good in the ring so far. He hasn't looked like he's been off for an extended period of time, even though he's been gone for 7 years. I would expect him to be in shape as well, too, because he's been training. So I'm interested in seeing what he looks like when he does finally step into the ring. But this is a massive moment. It's like even being at home and watching this moment was ridiculous, and I really am excited for it. I haven't watched Sean Ross Sapp's show. I'll probably watch it once I'm done taping this, but it's got to feel good that his reporting really kind of elevated this moment and that he was able to get that scoop out, because it really helped build to this opportunity here. And to think that this isn't over, because they have other guys. I mean, they're bringing in Daniel Bryan. They just brought in Malachi Black. There's talks about them bringing in Lee Moriarty. There's so many different guys that they could add to this roster who can do and perform at a level of professional wrestling that we're just not seeing, at least in North American professional wrestling, on a consistent basis. This is a big get, and this makes wrestling enjoyable. Now, we're going to talk about SmackDown and NXT later on, and I'm interested in seeing the impact this has on WWE long term. I'm really interested in seeing that. I know this has got to be a big boost and like a big morale boost for the AEW roster, because without it, I know that they would be. Now, I'm not saying they would be in a bad place, because they were in a good place regardless. They were rising and they were on a very high upward tick. But this has got to be a big boost. I know that there's so many people back there in the back licking their chops, looking forward to being a part of this re-emergence, this resurgence of professional wrestling. Will they get to be as big as WWE? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future looks like. But right now, what AEW is doing, there are some things, I've said it time and time again, there are things that they do that I do not like. But there's plenty of stuff that they do that I do enjoy on these shows. And I'm really looking forward to these next few weeks of professional wrestling. Some other stuff happened over on AEW Rampage as well. Jade Cargill, she is a star in the making for AEW. Whenever I tweet out a video or a GIF of her in the ring, people who I know who are lapsed professional wrestling fans immediately stop and watch that video, and they talk about that video because they talk about her because she is a big star, or she comes off as a big star, and they're interested in her. So they have an opportunity with her. They have an opportunity to attract more fans of color, black and brown fans. And that's something that I think is really important for AEW, because as I talked about last week, people have a perception of AEW that they talk the talk about diversity, but they're not really living that out, they're not living out the inclusion part of that. We talked about that last week. Jade Cargill, and elevating her as an opportunity to work on that. I'm glad that they gave her a match on Rampage. It was important that she had a match against Kiara Hogan as well, too, who I think AEW should sign immediately. I wrote about that tonight. It'll be a piece coming out tomorrow. Kiara Hogan's 26 years old. I did not realize she was that young, but she comes with 6 years of professional wrestling experience already. You know her from her run in Impact, where she had success there, two-time tag team champion. She needs to be signed, in my opinion, to a roster slot in this AEW women's division, another women's division, which is actually growing, becoming more deep, especially if they get Ruby Soho. That's been rumored as well. But Jade Cargill looks the part. She sounds the part. Everything about her works for me. Even if her squash matches are just 2 minutes right now, I'm okay with that. She should be squashing everybody. No one should really be able to get in her way when she does have those matches where she can build up and build some steam and have like a little bit of back and forth with somebody to be more meaningful. I'm looking forward to her run eventually getting to that title. I mean, I'm not the biggest Britt Baker fan, but I'm here all day to see Jade Cargill spike her on her face when the opportunity comes. So I'm looking forward to that. And as I mentioned, Kiara Hogan should definitely be signed to the roster. What else happened this week? Jon Moxley squashed Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is another one. I don't think he's signed to a roster, but I think he has a lot of opportunity there as well. Jurassic Express got a win, so they're back in the title picture for All Out. So that's good for whatever it may be. Dynamite was a good show this week as well too. As I mentioned again, there's some pieces that I didn't like more than I did. 2.0 is amazing. I'm surprised. Like, these guys feel like WWE guys, that comedy shtick, but they just didn't get their opportunity. And they've been doing fantastic stuff over in AEW. I don't know if they're signed to an actual contract right now, but they've been having some good moments, some good segments. Shawn Spears and Sami Guevara, I will flat out say that this was the best Shawn Spears match I've ever seen that guy have. Him and Sami went balls to the wall on Wednesday. There's definitely a lot of kicking out of stuff, but it was still a good match. Sami wins and Sami moves up the rankings with another victory there. There's people saying that he should face, what's his name, Miro, next for the TNT title. Okay, I can see that. I can get behind that. But I also wonder if that's the right move, because I don't want anyone taking that belt off of Miro right now. Now, when I talk about things I don't like on AEW, this whole Dan Lambert cancel culture segment, you can miss me with that. I'm not here for that. I think that was stupid. It just feels too forced to me. It feels like Joe Rogan or something like that is on his way to AEW, and I can't get down with that. Scripted or not, I'm just not here for it. They can do something else to get heat on someone. Ricky Starks, that dude, I've said it before, he's someone that makes me turn the channel to see him on TV every single time. Ricky Starks is a star, and I love that I'm getting more of him. Not necessarily more, but I love that he has a title around his waist, and we get to really enjoy him in AEW. I remember the first time I saw him in NWA, I was like, who is this guy? And I'm all in. But, Stroke Daddy Ricky Starks is he is the man, and he is a damn star on AEW. And then you had Thunder Rosa getting a win. Thunder Rosa she might be my favorite women's wrestler in the industry right now. Sitting here thinking about it, she might be right up there at the top, right after Io Shirai, right there with her. Thunder Rosa she's a shit to me. Everything about her energy and everything like that. She picked up a win over Penelope Ford, MJF and Jericho. I don't give a fuck about that. But anyway, Dynamite was a pretty solid show this week, and there's just so much energy around the AEW product, which is good for professional wrestling. Competition breeds success. Think about this as if we only had one video game to play, or we only had one movie to watch, or one pair of sneakers to wear. Competition improves the marketplace, and it forces people to improve, or if it causes those people who are not worthy of our dollars and time to fall to the wayside. And that's really what I'm watching closely when it comes to WWE, because they have so much that they've built up and that they've been able to create over these last couple of years, and they haven't had any solid competition since WCW died. Now that they do, how do they react to that? Because these first 2 years, especially this last one, they have not been reacting in the greatest of ways. Not only has it not been like a proactive response, they've almost cut their product. What is it? Cut their noses off in spite of their face via their product and what they put on television every week. This weekend is SmackDown, this weekend is SummerSlam, one of their biggest shows of the year. What do? They give us Bill Goldberg. They the go home shows for both Raw and SmackDown were nothing but were shit. SmackDown was 4 rematches this week, with one of those rematches being potentially because Sasha Banks may not be able to compete tomorrow. So that it's almost as if they've gotten in these big deals, they've made their millions, as they have year over year. You can listen to their revenue or their financial reports. You can read them on their website. They're making money hand over fist, so they almost don't have to put any effort into the product, which is frustrating. But you see AEW doing a lot of good things here. As I said, again, everything they do is I'm not the biggest fan of, but they're doing some things that I'm absolutely enjoying, and I hope that they improve in those areas where they're not. That's just clear as day to me. But this was a hell of a night with CM Punk's return, and I'm looking forward to watching as much AEW as I possibly can over the next few weeks, because they really have me tuned in. So let's turn our eyes to the product of WWE, and let's talk about SmackDown, because we have that coming up this week. And as you know, whenever I do a pay-per-view preview for WWE, there's matches that I talk about, and there's some matches that I don't talk about because I simply don't care about them. There's a couple here that I don't care about, so we'll be talking about those as well. Let me go ahead and say the ones I'm just going to skip over. I do not care about Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal. Get that off my television. The Usos versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. Don't need that at all either. Nikki Ash versus Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go, because they put the title on Nikki Ash and she's being booked as a little bit of a joke. In my opinion, she's lost more matches than she's won probably since she's become champion, and they keep running this stuff back and forth. It's almost as if they don't have any other women on the Raw roster, if you think about it. But they do, because they have another women's match on this card from Raw. But we'll talk about that in a second. I don't know. I have no idea who's going to come out of this. I don't really care about this match, but I do, because it's an important title with 3 big names. 1 big name and 2 names in the women's division. So let's see really how it plays out, because if and when Becky Lynch comes back, she's going to take that damn title off of one of these 3 ladies, and I don't know who's going to be the individual to do it. Is it going to be Charlotte again? Charlotte gets the win, and then she ends up dropping the title. I mean, okay, but I know people are really tired of Charlotte Flair in the picture, in the title picture with the belt around her waist, even if she is an exceptional performer, as we all know that she really is. Then we have another match, Roman Reigns versus John Cena. And this is an interesting stipulation that they put here. It's not interesting, but it kind of gives away the finish. If Reigns loses, he leaves WWE. This is for the Universal title. So that right there alone lets us all know that Reigns is not losing, which is understandable. Sometimes predictable is good. But Reigns is not losing this title. Him and Cena are going to have it's going to be a good match for what it is. I am interested in seeing how Cena looks coming back to the ring and having an actual match, or what should be a pretty hard-hitting match with Roman. This should be a good one. It should be one that we can all enjoy and have a good time with. Like I said, I expect Roman Reigns to win. This has to have been built up in the best of ways, in my opinion, simply because they haven't been having Cena on TV consistently, which is weird because they've had him there. They've had him wrestling dark matches. They just haven't had him on television, which, again, the decisions that people are making within the WWE, you just got to look at them sometime and just, like, what are you doing? That was one of them. But I expect Roman Reigns to come out with the victory there. Bob Lashley versus Bill Goldberg. Now, I feel about this in a couple different ways. First and foremost, Bill Goldberg, I cannot stand him being on my television in any way, shape, or form. I wasn't a fan of his 20 years ago when I was in middle school, or actually about 20 years ago I was in high school. But I wasn't a fan of his when I was in middle school or high school. I'm not a fan of his now. I hate the way he comes back and like demands the spotlight the way he does. I mean, that's the contract that they signed him to, but it's stupid. No one wants to see him wrestle Bob Lashley at this point in time. If I wish that they could have gotten Brock Lesnar for the slot, that would have been more interesting. But it almost feels like Lesnar watches the product and like, I don't want anything to do with that crap. There's no reason on God's green earth that Bill Goldberg should win this match. There's no reason. Let me say that again. There's no reason on God's green earth that Bill Goldberg should win this match. Nobody wants to see him with the title around his waist. I would much rather see Big E chasing after Bobby Lashley, even though he hasn't made any inclinations of that. He's been mostly on SmackDown, or all on SmackDown. Bobby Lashley has had a strong run. So far, I've enjoyed it, even though they gave Drew McIntyre 4 rematches, 4 shots at the title. I've enjoyed what we've seen with Bob Lashley as the WWE champion. I do not want to see Bill Goldberg derail someone else. I'm just not here for it. I want to see Lashley put the hurt lock on him and ragdoll him in front of his children, in front of everybody watching around the world, and that's going to be there. I want to see that all day, every day. Bianca Bel-Air versus Sasha Banks. So this match may be in jeopardy. It came out earlier this week that it may be called off. That is what was rumored. Banks was not on because the 2 ladies were pulled off 2 house show events. I think on the 14th and the 17th, I believe. And Banks was not backstage today for SmackDown. So obviously with a global pandemic going on, people are concerned that she may be ill and not be able to wrestle tomorrow. Hopefully, first and foremost, she's well. Her health is well. And she'll be able to figure that piece out. If she cannot wrestle, they got to figure something to do with Bianca Belair. They cannot not have her on this card. So if you want to have her have a match against someone else, Toni Storm is there. Liv Morgan is there. Because she could still have a good match with someone. It doesn't have to be just Carmella and Zelina, who are the 2 other women that they only feature on SmackDown. She had another match against Carmella tonight. So hopefully Sasha Banks is healthy and they figure out something that they can do around this if this match does not go forward. They were supposed to be cleared earlier this week, but then, like I said, Sasha wasn't backstage today for SmackDown, so let's see what happens. Here's hoping for the best and wishing Sasha the best in health. Then we have Edge versus Seth Rollins. Okay, this will be a good match. We know that much. We know Seth Rollins is delivering as a heel right now. He always delivers, in my opinion. Seth is one of my favorite guys. I think he's like a complete package. I don't care to see Edge. I saw something on Twitter this past week that the median age for all the performers on the SummerSlam card is, the average age is 35. The average age is 35. That's ridiculous. But looking at WWE's product, as you always say, not surprising. Edge, Seth Rollins, is, again, like I said, this would be a good one. I expect Seth Rollins to get the win here, but it'll probably be Edge. I would rather Seth Rollins get the victory though. Sheamus versus Damian Priest. Damian Priest is over, super over, and I am loving what they're doing with him. He has to win the title here, but we're going to get 15 rematches between now and SummerSlam or Survivor Series, I think, which is their next show. I think there's maybe a show between there, but he's going to win the title here, and Sheamus is going to get multiple rematches because they're not going to do anything else with that. But Damian Priest is over, and I am a big fan of his. Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie with Doudrop. Yeah, they're doing this, and knowing them, this match has pre-show written all over it, but it won't be on the pre-show. It'll be on the main card. I guarantee you. There's going to be some shenanigans, obviously. I'm expecting Alexa Bliss to win, but again, No one cares about this match. No one's asked for this match. It is probably one of the most pointless. It's good to see a secondary, women's feud getting on a pay-per-view. But they can do so much better than this, but they choose not to. For whatever reasons, they decided that they're not going to give us good product. The Alexa Bliss, Eva Marie storyline is definitely wrapped up in that idea of not giving us good product. Then we have AJ Styles versus Omos. AJ Styles and Omos versus RK Bro. Okay, we knew that this match was coming. I wonder why Randy Orton was out for so long. I haven't really heard anything around that. But those titles are coming to Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. I still want Riddle to turn on Orton to kind of buck that trend of Orton always being the one to turn. I do want Riddle to make that turn on him, but I don't think that it's going to happen like that. I think it's going to be Orton again as usual. But, this will be a good match, at least. It'll be a good match. AJ Styles is going to deliver in everything that he does. But again, before I move on to TakeOver, where's the excitement around SummerSlam? SummerSlam used to be one of my favorite events of the year, but it doesn't feel fun anymore. It just feels like another checkbox, another show that they're going to make their millions on and keep it rolling. It's just not as enjoyable as one would like. So, kind of like here we are when it comes to these showcases with the WWE. It's just not as much fun, and all of that is their own fault because they're just not building shit correctly. They're just not even necessarily correctly, because that would assume some intent in trying. They're just not building shit and just letting it roll because they get paid millions upon millions of dollars with these contracts for their content. So let's talk about NXT TakeOver 36 and what this match holds for the NXT roster. And I wonder if this is the last TakeOver that feels like an actual TakeOver, because we've seen the stories about they want their intentions on changing the overall landscape of TakeOver and making the shift to make it something different. We've seen that, and we know how that's going to go. But you wonder if this is the last one that feels like TakeOver is back, as Triple H kind of put it a couple months back, or will it be heading in a different direction? Because it just doesn't look good for them. They have Trey Baxter versus Rich Holland on the pre-show. Trey Baxter's going to get himself killed. Rich Holland's going to kabopalize him all over the place. And I'm okay with that, because Rich needs a push. It's good to see him back after that nasty leg injury that he had a few months back. And we also have Walter versus Ilya Dragonov. They've done a good job with Dragonov over the last few weeks. They should have never beat him by Pete Dunne, who's not even on the show. He should have never lost to Pete Dunne. But with him and Walter, they're going to fucking tear it up. I got a feeling Dragonov wins, and then Pete Dunne starts chasing after him. But this is going to be an exceptional match. Walter and Dragonov are going to beat the fuck out of each other. If you have not had the opportunity, go back and watch their match from September of last year. It was, I think it's like a 30-minute match, and it was just brutal from start to finish. These two guys are going to go. And I want Dragunov to get the victory so Walter can go after the NXT championship, which I think will be changing hands on this show as well, because you have Karrion Kross and Samoa Joe in a singles match. And I feel for Karrion Kross because he's been booked the way he's been booked on NXT, and then booked like a joke on the main roster, and no one cares about him. Like, people are apathetic towards him as the NXT champion, and he goes up to Raw and he loses to Jeff Hardy, loses to Keith Lee, gets a win back somehow, and he's just like questionable at best. So I'm just not really into him. And he has this match with Samoa Joe, and I'm hoping Samoa Joe wins, because it's weird. They're trying to make Karrion Kross still look like a threat, but he can't defeat Jeff Hardy. Okay, sure, whatever. But Samoa Joe should pick up a win here. What will be a pretty good match. I expect a lot of back and forth action there, but it's good to see Samoa Joe back in the ring as well. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. I'm looking forward to this match. I want to say I want to live in a world where Dakota Kai wins the women's title. I don't see it happening though, just because Raquel is someone who has the look and has the stature, someone that WWE will get behind, and I'm okay with that. But I would love to see something more for Dakota. I feel like she's one of those individuals who never got that run that she should have received at some point in time, where she could have earned. Fans loved her. Fans still love her. And she's going to go out there and have a damn good match with Raquel Gonzalez. But I think Gonzalez is going to pick up that win. Then we have LA Knight is up against Cameron Grimes. And if Grimes loses, DiBiase must become Knight's butler. Again, predictability is not always a bad thing in professional wrestling. I expect Grimes to win this match and to get that $1 million title. LA Knight is main roster ready. He's main roster ready, so I wonder if he'll be sticking around for much longer after this. Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole in I guess what will be the main event. And this match, I don't care about. I'm going to talk about it, but I don't care about it. Adam Cole is Adam Cole. That dude is over. He's going to be over wherever he goes. As mentioned, his contract is up. He's been working without a contract through this weekend. So let's see what it looks like, what's next for him. After seeing CM Punk's arrival in AEW, that has to have him thinking. I think he would do some good work over there. He's going to do good work wherever he is, but I don't think WWE is going to value him as much as they should. They may pay him his worth to keep him away from AEW, but they're not going to value him and use him in the same fashion, especially if he gets up to the main roster. And then you have O'Reilly, who feels like a caricature of himself. Probably didn't say that word right. Like, who is he? Is he a fighter? Is he Cool Kyle? Like, who is he, and why do we care? I can't, for the life of me, answer either one of those questions right now, and it really makes me not care about this match. 2 out of 3 falls. First fall, traditional match. Second fall, street fight. Third fall, cage match. Okay, so I expect Adam to win the traditional, Kyle to win the street fight, and then they end up in the steel cage where Kyle gets the victory there. Because I don't think Cole's coming back. I think he's going to go to AEW. If it was me, I think that's really kind of where I would go. You're not going to be paid as much money, but I think you'll be more fulfilled with your work, because he's done all he could in NXT. I can't see him on the main roster having 20-minute classics with Seth Rollins. I would watch, but I don't see that happening. So yeah, we have a very, very busy week of professional wrestling this weekend, guys. So I'm going to be doing the best I can to cover as much as possible. I might be back here on Sunday after TakeOver to do a SummerSlam recap and TakeOver recap. But I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to listen to the show and support the work that we do here. I really appreciate that. We're chugging along. I wish we were getting more, but we got to continue to stay consistent on our podcast schedule. So I thank you everyone for taking the time to check us out. As always, search for MMA Ratings to find us across a variety of platforms. Me, myself, and I. You can hit me up at rgarcia_sports. CM Punk is back, folks. Enjoy pro wrestling. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.